Hopefully y'all can hear me. We're going to be doing chat in the chat thing where Zach just typed a few minutes ago. But if you have questions, there is a box at the bottom of the screen that says Q&A. Click on that and type your question there. That way, just in case people are talking in the chat, that way I don't miss it. It makes it a lot easier on me. So I would appreciate it. And I think that's it.
Heck yeah. All right. I'm going to put OBS right in front of me because I can for this.
Yes, you can.
Should be pretty cool. The funny thing is, Liz, I'm wearing my headphones and I really don't need to because I can't hear anything.
I was wondering why you were doing that yesterday too, and I just didn't say anything.
You feel like a true streamer or something, right? Like I don't know.
Yeah, sure.
It doesn't matter. Whatever. Vote for all the people out there. Should I have my headphones on or off?
Oh my god.
Should we have Liz teach this class?
No, God, no.
All right. So this is the Behind the Brush Roll to Move 2025 Painting OSL panel lesson thing. So does everyone know what OSL is?
Pretend they don't.
It's pretend light. So if you don't like non-metallic metal, which is fake metal, you probably won't like OSL because it's fake light. But that being said, it's a cool little effect. You can see right over here. I've got Guardian, and he is all lit up. Even the base is kind of lit up. So we'll actually look at that exact model here in a second. Basically, you're just making it look like the lights are on, right? And that's what we're going to do today. So I'm going to be working on, I forgot what this is called, but this cool model right here. And making some things glow on it. So this always adds like a little bit of life. I always tell people like weathering adds life to your models. OSL adds life to your models. It just puts something different on your painting. So, all right. So here we go. Let us switch. Pull my camera up.
Chris White is in here twice.
Hey. Sweet jelly donuts. So, for OSL, a couple important things are you need bright colors. So, you know when you like say you go to a traffic light or something at night and you look at it's a red light, you know, and you're waiting there impatiently and you see there's a red glow around that light. Sometimes it's really big. What is that light touching? Because there's no metal there. It's just out in the air, right? So that's like atmospheric glow. So OSL can be stuff that the light directly touches. It can also be the atmosphere around an object that the light is interacting with and making a glow too. So that being said, we can do some really fun things with that and make things maybe a little bit more interesting.
Recording in progress.
Oh, the recording's in progress.
Oh my gosh.
Cool.
Yes,
I'm glad
I just realized that I wasn't doing my recording.
That's our backup recording. I'm recording it too, so
Correct.
in HD. It'll be awesome. Let me turn that air compressor off. Okay, so one thing that's important with OSL, well, let me discuss the paints. So you can use different things to make OSL. Obviously, you can use fluorescent paints. You have to be very careful, though, because sometimes they give off a fluorescent like fluorescent-y look to them. It's not really realistic. Like fluorescent doesn't look real. It looks great in photographs, but not always in real life. So you got to be careful with fluorescents. You can also use stuff like this, like Warpaint's plasma glow coil effect. So this is like a bluish teal color or whatever. You can airbrush that on. You can paint it on. We can also use colors like this, contrast paint. I've got other types of fluorescents. This is the fluorescents from Acryl. These fluorescents are really good, and these are some of my favorites. So the golden high flow acrylics. And they are already thin enough to go through an airbrush. See, little airbrush right there. So, that being said, you want a very saturated color. So by saturated colors, I mean colors like this that just are bodaciously saturated. So to give a different kind of orange, orangey red, this one's very desaturated, so not as good. So you want to go with saturated colors because we're talking about light here. Other things to kind of steer clear of is like white light. It looks really good on your computer. I've actually tried to do it a bunch of times. It looks really, really good on your computer because your computer's backlit, and so you get that, oh, it's light. Okay, I get it. On a model, not so much. Like you just have this white and there's not much color in it, and the more desaturated a color gets, the more flatter it ends up looking, so it just looks bad. So stick with the really saturated colors, really saturated yellows, that type of thing. So depending on, no matter you want to do it with fluorescents or regular colors, pick saturated colors. Fluorescents are always saturated. All right. I'm also going to be using some regular white, some bold titanium white from Acryl, but then also some white ink. I'll show you some airbrushing techniques. And yeah, I think that's it for the paints. I'm just going to show you a few models to get us started. So this is one I did a while back. Some of these models are really big. This is a model I did a while back. It's a portal. Oddly enough, I never finished the back. So maybe if we have some time today, I might play around with that a little bit too. But I think it came out pretty good. One thing that's really important when you're doing OSL like this, these are things to kind of point out and remember. The light spills out, right? So even though this is like a portal, and maybe it's not like light shining out to, 50 feet away from this portal, it does have a little bit of light shining out. So if you notice, I have a little bit of orange on the ground coming out, and it kind of skips down here onto this step. But it won't be on like this face of the step because that isn't being hit by the light. The light can't bend around and come back. I also have orange on the back sides of these arms. So these are all things like we're making an optical illusion, and we want it to look like that's actually lit. If those parts aren't painted that way, if they just look like this statue on this side where it's just copper, it doesn't sell the effect, right? Now you might notice I talked about this step right here. There's no orange light on the front facing of this step. It's just whatever the colors were. But I do have a little bit of orange up here on the front facing of these metal parts up there. I don't know if you noticed that, but it's definitely there. It's definitely on these sides over here and a little bit over here, which technically there's a wall here and it would not put light over there. But the reason I do that is because of the atmospheric light thing that we talked about before. The water molecules in the air, sometimes they just give a little hazy feeling. Maybe this is inside of a temple and it's all dusty in there, so the light will reflect off the dust, whatever. But it allows us to put a little bit of orange around here, and it just sells the effect just ever so slightly more. The other thing you'll notice is I put really harsh shadows, like on the back sides of all these things, because there's light on this side, and when it shines this way, it'll create a shadow right there, because the light's shining outwards all the way around this 360. So, any questions about that so far? We'll also get this guy. Oh, let me bring my light a little bit closer. So this is this guy. He came out really cool. And you see I have that atmospheric glow coming outside of his face mask. And that's just because it looked better than if it was just super tight little orange stripes in there. Same with these things. There's a little bit of atmospheric glow, but not a whole lot. There's also orange on the back sides of these tubes right here. For this stuff down here, these are like power nodes or something. This base I sculpted, it's exactly the same as one of the map tiles. So if you find a map tile that has that, that's what this is from. I've got a little light over here that's giving off some light, and you can see the light. You always want to make sure that you don't have, it's not like sunlight that's coming down and just hitting from one direction. This is hitting from, it's 360, so it goes 360 all the way around this particular light right here, and it's just this small little nub that you see on that side. And so it's hitting up onto the feet, but it's a very small light, so I don't have it going too high in the body, whereas this light's much bigger. And again, it's not meant to be lighting the whole scene. You know, it's not like a strobe light or something. But it does go up the leg a little bit more, and I believe I have it on the bottom of the hand too. So it's little things like that that really help you sell the OSL lighting.
Chris said I call it OSA because Aaron is the light of my life.
That's right. Cute.
That's adorable.
So here's the difference. This one is standard acrylics, so I used really the most vibrant yellow I could find, the most vibrant orange I could find, and then combinations of that to get my glow effect. This one is fluorescence, and it's not until further out in the fluorescent, further away from this main area, that the fluorescents start turning into actual normal opaque paint. So like all the red up on these parts, all the glow that's coming up, is all normal paint, and then all of the stuff in the little tendrils and stuff here is fluorescent paint. So you can kind of tell the intensity is a little bit different. It's also it's definitely a different way of painting. Let's put it that way. So it's kind of like whatever floats you boat there. Now this one, this is more OSL examples. This I think I did. What was it, last year? Mm-hmm. I was just doing gate portals and stuff, and how to base them and stuff, do cool effects. So these ones, again, they're lights that are sunken in to the piece, so it's not going to go real far out. It's not going to hit the same facing that, it's coming out at you. But I did do a little bit of that atmospheric glow because it just, in my opinion, it makes it look better. So we got that side, and then this is like, I always do my portals, so you're walking through this portal and you're going into whatever world you're going into. So I haven't done every single portal variation to be able to go to every world, but like in this case, you're coming out of the Blasted Waste and you're going into Targa Plateau. So kind of cool. This one is Targa Plateau going into the Caverns of Cinder, which is kind of cool. And again, this one was done all with regular acrylics. So you see the difference? They're not quite as, they don't have the punch really of the, if we put them right next to each other. This one definitely has a little bit more punch, but I can't really say I almost like this one better in real life. So it's definitely a call on your part to figure out. This one, I believe, is a little bit of both. So pretty cool. Here's one more. This is your standard mine shaft. And again, I think I did this in that Roll to Move show. Did the light on both sides. It's different on both sides. Can anyone tell me what you think is wrong about this OSL? Chris White, go.
Right.
It's not a real light. That's the problem. Okay, you guys waited too long.
Well, no, baby,
I'm just kidding.
Like,
it doesn't matter. Too late.
Chris said the cast light is as bright as the source.
That's a little bit of it, but also it's probably the wrong color. So, and this was one of those things I was just doing it quick, and the light off of a yellowish light, it's got a little orange tint to it. It should be casting more of an orange shadow, which actually would be a darker, not a shadow, casting an orangish light that fades to red out here. I've done a lot of research on this, like looking at campfire pictures, like real life and everything. And in some like campfires, the light coming off the campfire is completely red. Like everyone in the background is bright red. Other times it's a little bit more yellowish. So I think it really depends on exactly how it goes. But I think Chris is right. This is a little bit too bright, and it should be a little bit more orange
and
as
Zach
well.
was right. He said should be orange.
Yeah. So there you go. Cool. Glad. So you already learned something. Took me like 25 years to learn that, but I also wasn't really paying attention to lantern light on a wall. But Okay, so we're going to grab this. The first thing I'm going to do, so we've got the front of this, which, and I can't remember what this is called. It's a brand new piece from Shadows of Brimstone, and it's a warp gate. And I remember Scott telling me about it. He goes, we wanted a big doorway, but then on the other side we're like, well, that's kind of boring if we just do the doorway twice. So they decided to make it a big old warp portal. So that's super cool. So we're going to do some small lighting effects coming out of this, and we're going to do a big one on this side. All of this, by the way, was painted so far with contrast and speed paints. So
It looks really good.
it came out really cool. Yeah.
Is that ours?
Yeah, that's what I was going for. Really good. So how do we make, here's the first question for you guys. How do you make this light, no matter what color it is, look brighter on this model? Does anyone know?
Gotta give them like a minute.
You have 13
You
seconds.
better stop. White underpaint.
So you
Bright
could do
white primer.
you could do white underpaint, yeah. And we've kind of got that going right now.
And white primer is the other end.
Maybe white primer underneath. Okay, let's say that's not bright enough. Now, how do I make it brighter? Yellow. Okay, let's say we did sunburst yellow. Okay, that's the brightest color you could possibly have. This color right here is probably the brightest color you could possibly have. It is brighter than white. So it hurts your eyes compared to that white. Okay, how do we make this color right here brighter? Let me do this. That might be a cue for you savvy painters out there.
Don't answer it for them.
Okay. We can't wait here all day, though. That's the other. I'm just kidding.
Denser paint. Make everything else darker.
Yes.
And dilution.
Add darkness to the area around where you want your light to be, and it will be brighter. So, that being said, we're going to do a little bit of this. I mean, you could say that these rocks are already kind of dark. I believe I used, what did I use? I used this color, the Griff Charger Gray, which we used yesterday. I used some of this Nasdrag Yellow to add some little dirt areas. And then I also used the other gray paint from this one, Basilicum Gray. So I used a in-between gray, like a neutral gray, or a cold gray, and then the Nasdrag to kind of warm it up. So now I want to go, I think I'm going to use the Basilicum Gray because it's really dark. Or it feels like it's really dark. The Griff Charger Gray has blue in it, so it might actually be darker, but I think in my little bit of testing earlier today, I think that one ended up looking darker.
Your wet palette.
Oh. I was wondering why all those brushes were showing up. I'm like, that is so weird. Anyways, we've got to kind of go around this and make it a little bit darker on the edges. So what I can do is just start darkening up this stuff. And I'll take a second brush, kind of wet it a little bit, and feather it out on the edge. Actually, I think I want this to be a little bit wider, so it really, really accentuates the fact that it gets darker towards the portal. And it's funny because you probably look at it and you go, okay, well, that doesn't, I mean, I get it, but it will look weird. And it's funny, it just doesn't at the end of the day. It just looks brighter. So the one really good thing about using speed paints or contrast paints on this is the pigment is stronger than like a wash. So if I did this with a wash, it might look really dark like this, and then it dries really light. So I never brush in my mouth, so that's why I sound weird. You see that? Much darker, right? Now, on most things, I can actually do this with my airbrush. Just darken an area slightly. But when you have something where it just starkly goes to white or a lighter color, sometimes it's better just to paint it on. And this is probably just as fast as the airbrushing, to be quite honest. We'll go around here. All right, so stuff like that. We can also maybe go a little bit in areas like this where the rock face changes, where it would cast a shadow from the OSL. And we don't need to do a ton of it because like we don't want it to just be completely black out here. It already looked pretty cool. So maybe we just do in a couple spots to kind of force that perspective and get you the idea that the light is causing unnatural shadows, not based on sunlight. The more of this you do, the better of it you get. So maybe at first you're like, I don't know where to put shadows and stuff, but the more you think about it, the more you do it, you start noticing like, oh, that would actually cast a shadow right there. And you can choose not to put a shadow. If it ends up, you think it will look better without that shadow, then feel free not to put it. It's really up to you. So a lot of times I will wait kind of towards the end to figure out if I need to add more shadows and stuff. But I think on this, to save time, we will do it immediately because I think it will need it anyways. So maybe on some of these bigger rocks, I'm going to add. So where I had it before, it's actually highlighted from above, but I'm putting like bigger dark lines. I'm putting like some foreshadows on the top sides of rocks up here. Just to give me, I've still got that downward light, but the light coming out of here is actually causing some shadows to happen around the rocks. And that will give me another feeling of that this is actually a light source and not just a big thing of swirling jelly. Probably should put some glasses on too. It's always fun watching blind Aaron paint, but
I love it.
we watch my little niece almost every day, and she rips my glasses off of my head every single time I pick her up. It's super funny. Okay, so you don't have to have it like, you don't have to be like totally perfect and get every single thing, but a few of them, maybe make some of these cracks a little bit darker, yada yada yada. Again, if you're going for like, you know, world champion of painting, maybe you slow your roll down a little bit so that it doesn't so it's not as maybe messy. This is a little bit messy, but it's actually not too bad. I'm very proud of myself, Liz.
I'm proud of you too.
Fishing for a compliment from Chris White.
Oh my god.
Okay, so we got that. Let's go to the front side. And this one, we've got a light coming out. It'll come out of the crack in this door a little bit. And then we've got some holes in the wood here. And I jumped the gun just a little bit earlier. I'm going to use contrast wildwood, so any really dark brown I think will work for this. You could also use that darker gray because at the end of the day it's just making the color darker. But I already did some of the dark lining around all this stuff just so it shows up a little bit better, and in some of these wood planks. So I'll put a couple more in here. So I want some of these wood planks to look like no light can get through, and some of them will look like the light's seeping through, which I think will look kind of cool. So you always got to ask yourself with your painting, like, what makes this different from other paint jobs? Like, you know, I don't know, what makes it special? What makes you go, oh my gosh, that's amazing? And it doesn't have to be the technically best painted model ever. It could just be your idea was so good that it just makes it better than most. So we got that. I am going to, around the areas where we're going to have light show through, I'm just going to add a little bit of dark up on the top of the wood. So the wood actually gets darker right there. It'll get darker over here as it gets closer to this hole. Did I get my compliment?
Chris, yes, you got your compliment.
Okay,
Chris
good.
said why are you making me say this again, Chris? Your extra thoracic external tracheal sphericals look absolutely stunning today.
That is amazing. And Chris knows what he's talking about because he also paints for Flying Frog. So it's, yeah, can't argue with that. I mean, I was thinking about arguing it, but I just can't. So I'm kind of cleaning my brush off too and doing like a little blend. Kind of like if you came to yesterday's class. I put the contrast on. Either have another clean brush ready to go or just wipe off that brush, clean it out a little bit, and then I just touch the edges and kind of feather that paint out. Let's see, are there any other good spots? So right here, this wood is darker. Maybe the lines through the wood, the cracks in the wood are a little bit darker
Also
too.
probably at the very bottom of the door.
Right there. Or this
all the
one?
way across too.
Oh yeah, maybe we have. Oops, I grabbed the gray. Whatever, it'll work.
Always have that.
Little bit showing through at the bottom. Yeah. Okay. This is a team effort. I like it.
I gotta keep you on your toes.
Mm-hmm. There's no I in team unless you spell it the way I do. Okay, so now we're going to take bold titanium white. Hopefully, you know, we're kind of against the gun time-wise, so we want to do things in a quick way. Oh, you know what? We will use some more of this gray.
Which one?
The Mechanicum. This one.
Mm-hmm.
Basilicum, whatever. Basilicatum. Cicada gray. Whatever. It is what it is. As we know from last night's class, I am going to butcher pretty much everything, so it all works out. Let's make the area around this fire right here is going to be darker too. Maybe up here. So it's funny, we make it darker and then it'll probably end up getting lightened, but that's okay. It's you know, we're doing it for posterity's sake. Put some darkness right there. A little bit dark up there. A little bit more down here. I'm a big proponent of putting paint on and wiping it off with my fingers. I had one of my first mentors, his first rule was if you touched your model with your finger, the paint job was ruined and you might as well just start over. And so I try to touch my models as much as possible because you never do what your teacher says, right? Unless it's me. You always follow my instruction perfectly to the T. And we all know that's false, so.
Just lick it off. That's
Yeah.
what Chris said.
I've done that too.
He has.
I remember one time I was painting for a class and I only have two hands and I ran out of hands. So I got the paint in the wrong spot and I just licked it. And I missed. So it really didn't help that much. Oops. All right. So I think those are all our light areas. Let's put... I'm going to put a little bit of gray in this crease right here.
Like I said, why only 2 hands?
It's because that's all I got, man. Like, I don't know what planet you came from, but I'm from Earth.
You were born with 3 hands?
Yeah, most of us were. I'm lucky to have 2 hands. What are you talking about? All right, so we got that. We've darkened that area. We've got some white, titanium white. I'm using bold titanium white. You could use probably the best bold titanium whites are actual Artis colors like golden, or I have a brand called Schminka. I'm going to put it in. I'm going to try not to get it on the top of the wood, but I am going to try to get it on the sides of the wood that are coming up. So it's not just down there in the bottom. It's like I'm just filling this cavernous hole with white, bold titanium paint. If you want to sound really serious, you always say the paint name backwards, like that. So you sound more artistic. Okay, so the other thing I wanted to try, I thought of this right before, is have some of that trickle out into that dark abyss that I created. So like there's little bits of light that are going to kind of poke out from small areas. Like that. And who knows? Maybe the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man is behind this door and he's oozing through, you know? Like we don't know. Chris, you didn't paint the studio model of this one, did you? Or did you? Or did you?
He said he did not.
Okay.
He also said, do you ever use transparent white? I mean, white transparent.
The white transparent, for you probably mean from Monument. I got it, and I waited to use it so long, it kind of went bad on me. It was weird. So I haven't been able to use it. But I kind of didn't use it because I was just able to do the same thing with white ink, quite honestly. So it was just easier. But I would, maybe one of these days I'll pick it up and try it again. The problem doing this with transparent white is it's transparent. So you're not going to get, like, we're trying to block out all that color. In fact, in real life, I would probably come back and re-hit all these white spots one more time to make sure they're good in white, or at least partially good in white. We'll do... Maybe we will do... We'll have the light spilling out under it over here, because there's a bigger crack right there. So this is not necessarily where the glow is going to be. This is where the light starts. So we want to reset our color to white, as white as possible. And then I'm also putting it on really thick. Like, I have not thinned the white, and I'm literally like, there's like a bead on the front of my brush, so I'm having to be really careful. Like really thin stuff, you notice I do the big splooch first, and then I do the smaller ones because I've gotten most of the paint off of my brush. So we get that there. Ooh, that's still wet right there, which is bad for me. I don't want brown paint in there. I'll do that piece. Oh, there's a big old thing. So here, you know, the more white we get in there, the brighter our color will be. And the more white surface area, the even brighter it will be. So I'm going to paint the whole inside of this side of the door with that white paint, hoping that the color will then just be like bodaciously white. That. And this is where I just got to start being real careful. I'm going to get it on my beautiful green tentacle there. But you know what? Sometimes stuff just happens.
You
Oh,
repaint it.
I could. Okay, notice I went outside the lines there a little bit. I'm going to try to scoop that back. And in this case, maybe it would have been better just to leave it. Because
Oh, no.
happy accidents.
Oh, no.
It's actually mostly glare. Okay, that'll work. That works good enough. Go down here. The bottom part of this tentacle will be getting some of that light, so maybe I'll just go ahead and paint over it. This is not exciting part of OSL, but necessary. All right. That looks pretty cool. I'm also going to do up these flames. So when you are driving at night and you are looking at the oncoming traffic, Liz loves this so much. And the really bright halogen lights are on. What part in the light is black? Or what part of the light has shadow in it? The actual light, not stuff around it.
If you only see starbursts, it's okay.
What part of your starbursts have shadows in them? If you can't think of it, look at a light in your house, like a light. Just look at the light bulb and tell me where the shadow is in that light bulb.
Don't go blind.
Yeah. If you go blind, it's your own fault. Those are the rules. I think my painting of this flame will probably answer that question too, but
We don't have an answer.
we don't have an answer.
We don't
Okay.
have any.
The answer to that is nothing shadowed. The light doesn't have a shadow in it. It's just bright. Now, there's probably somebody will go online and find a light that has a shadow in it, but that'll be like not fair. So, the light source does not have shadows in it. So, you do not technically you do not want to put shadows in your lighting or the whatever's making your OSL. Because that's not the way a light works. That being said, I have seen painters paint shadows into their lighting, and it did work. So that's the magic of art. Sometimes it just works. So if you are to do that and it works, bravo for you. But I will tell you that you'll get much brighter OSL if you don't put any shadows in. So your deepest, darkest shadow, like if I was doing green, my deepest, darkest shadow might be this shade of green. That's your shadow. That's where you start. All right. Got that. Okay, so we got our lighting on that side. Hopefully I've not pushed shadow color all over. That would suck. Okay, so we got that. So we're actually going to break that rule, my whole no shadows in your light rule on this side, because I just want to see what it looks like. I'm going to leave some of these darker grays, and when I put the color over it, it will appear darker. So we'll see what happens. If it looks horrible, I've been proved right. If it doesn't, I've been just proved that normally you don't have shadows, but sometimes it looks cool.
Especially with swirly birds.
Especially with swirly birds. That is correct. I'll put some of these going up the middle. So like some of these pieces of wood are like really cracked. And so there's like in the middle of the wood, it's got light cracking through. La-di-da-di-da-di. This one?
Yep.
I got you. All right. We can always add more later, but for now, we'll do this. Okay, so let me turn my airbrush on. And that's where the light comes out. And I'm going to try a little experiment here. We'll get our Sigvald Burgundy and we'll get a little of this color. I made a darker red. And I'm going to put that on the walls over here. We're going to do an experiment because sometimes I do this before, sometimes I do it after. So our fire's glow will be a reddish color. I'm just going to put that on and then feather it out like I did before. And dun, 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 dun. There'll be a little bit on that piece. And the rules for metal is they always reflect more than non-metallic surfaces. So maybe that light goes a little bit further. Put some up here. So the reason I do that now is that when I do my airbrush, if any white goes up there, it goes over the red, as opposed to having to put red around it later. So, okay, so got that. I'm not going to do it on these pieces because they're not really glowing outside of that. Oh, shoot, I've missed the most important part. Like the best part, this part. Yeah, I remember why I didn't do it because it was all wet still. So we'll do this right down the middle. Again, it's okay if it's not exactly perfect. And then I'm going to do it around the top crack of the door. The door's bent, so it's kind of seeping through. All right, so that looks cool. Again, if your demon behind here is a Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, I think you're set. You could just leave it as is. Okay, you know what I'm going to do? The edge of this wood, I'm going to put little dots because I already kind of dinged it up anyways. So sometimes the dots signify like light kind of peeking through in spots. Again, you know, you can choose to do as much or as little of this as you want. I just always choose to do more. It's my cross to bear. There we go. So this piece of wood got cracked, so maybe it's got more crackles coming through it. That's good enough. Don't want to overdo it, right? Correct. Okay, so I've got my airbrush here. It's a Patriot 105. Oh no.
You didn't.
I did. There's the little... Okay.
Okay, do I need to clean it?
No. So I was... Oh no, it's still there. Duh. Okay, thank God.
Holy cow.
Oh, I see. It had come off. Look at that. It's not even screwed on. It was way up here, and I thought it was because it fell on the floor earlier. So, anyways, I'm an idiot. It's cool. Nothing to fear.
I thought that you left it gunked up.
No, I did leave it gunked up, but I'm trying to keep it gunked up for tomorrow's class.
That's fair.
Okay, so Patriot 105. Typically, I don't do inks through my Patriot 105, but it does work, so we're just going to go for it. Normally, I use my Sotar 2020 because it has a smaller needle. Yeah, maybe in this case that might be a good idea, but you know what? I like to live dangerously. If I feel like I can't get good enough detail with this, I will switch. 4 drops. So inks are nice because they're literally made for your airbrush. And I will spray into this little black dot. Little tiny spray there, and we'll start. So I'm going to have a little bit, I'm going to spray a little bit into this fire. I'm going to go over the fire a little bit to start my OSL glow. I'm trying not to get too much on the metal parts, but it's okay if it goes over the metal parts a little bit, because I do want a little bit of glow to come out there. This will also help the area right around the fire look a little bit lighter, brighter. So the flame light is licking up onto this rock. Maybe we'll do a little bit up onto that rock. This airbrush is not made for small things, but look at that. Hit right in the corner of the bottom of that rock. I'm also spraying at 40 psi, so it's like really hardcore spray. Let's do over here. I want some of this OSL going up onto the, I can put my finger over the side of this gold part. That's my mask. And spray right into it. I'm going to put it over this side and spray onto that side. And if it goes up too much on the gold, you can always come back and just paint over the gold again. But I think it'll be okay. Like, it'll just look very fiery right in that spot. So that little bit of spray over here. I'm going to do just where these spots are bigger. I'll have the light kind of come out of the wood. And down here. If, per se, you don't have an airbrush, get one. Then you have to learn it, so I get it. You could try dry brushing this. Like, just dry brush some white in these areas.
That was literally the question that came up was, can this be done with a brush as well?
Yeah, it can, for sure. So if you notice, I did right in the center of that crack in the wood, but not on the ends. So it kind of like the light spreads out over the wood. So we get that little bit of atmospheric light. But then when it gets thinner, there's no atmospheric light. So that should work. And then we'll do a little bit up here. You can see where this helps out so much. And then I will spray from this direction to try to hit the rock a little bit more, because then it saves all the shadows I put on the tops of rocks stay there. Like the airbrush can't hit the top of the rock. This. Okay, that's all good. This piece right here is like really super airbrushy right there. A little bit more right here. There, I think that works. You could also on this one choose not to do any of that airbrushing or dry brushing, and just keep it really, really like deep in the crack. That's okay too. Question.
It was just me.
Okay.
Can you show them how to do the dry brushing, maybe on the other side?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm going to have that light spilling out the top and it's spilling upwards. So see how that looks? Not too bad. Not too shabby. I think that'll work. Let me clean out my airbrush real quick. That's how I clean my airbrush out. I just spray it in from the side, let most of it run out. When it starts looking kind of clear, spray it out. If you're wondering about airbrushing, I am doing a class tomorrow on airbrushing. So what do you know? Okay, so this is going to be, we're going to do fire-ish color. So let me put that back so you can see it. I'm really excited because a lot of times when Scott sends me models for these classes, it's just the model, you know? And this one, it was the full set. So I have the rules for this and everything, which is super awesome. So we can put it right into our own personal games. But we will not go through it. No way. That's where I draw the line. Okay, so the magic to fire is a shade of orange. So I'm going to mix fluorescent orange with fluorescent yellow. And we're gonna put the fluorescent yellow into our airbrush. Spray that first. Maybe, well, you know what? Actually, the orange is ready to go. Whoa, that was like volcanoed on me. Got orange all over my hand. And we'll just spray it out to make sure there's no yellow on there. Alright. So we got our orange. Holy cow. I sprayed all my orange out, so let's put some more orange in. There we go. Good enough. Alright. And we'll start applying this. So I'm going to spray a little bit of this onto the white. Actually, I'm not gonna worry about the white so much right now. I'm gonna spray. This is the OSL going onto the rocks a little bit. Put it right up here. That fire right there, this one right here. So I'm not spraying too much on the actual fire because I don't want to have to repaint it white or build up colors. I'm trying to do this the most economical way, time-wise. So put that there. This will spray real light color going up. Sort of dusting, so it kind of starts coloring it orange around the fire. And that light's not going to be super bright, you know, it's just going to kind of go out, fade out. Okay, we got that. I'll put a little dusting onto the fire itself just to start changing that color. But still looking pretty bright, which is good. On this, I'm only going to do it in those areas where I went outside of the wood lines. So it's real light spray. I can always come back and readjust, but I'm trying to guess the way this is going to look once I get the yellows on. Do some down here. And we'll go right here. Maybe a little of that light sprays onto the tentacle there. This one up here. This one up here. Now, here's one spot that I may have wanted to do differently coming up into this is make this gold even darker so that the OSL shows up better, but I can always adjust that later, so it's not that big of a deal. Miniature painting is always like live and learn, you know, so. All right, so those colors are pretty bright. And then let's put this down for a minute, and I'm gonna take my brush back. Let's go with this yellowy orange. It's all about yellowy orange. So put that in, and this paint is very see-through, so it kind of like works with me. I can kind of just paint it over everything, and it will. Might dye the dark wood a little bit, but not too much. This is one of those things where sometimes it feels like maybe I could go more opaque with the orange, and that's okay because I can always come back and do that as I go. But you're kind of feeling things out here. Shoving all this in. And it could be that you're looking at it and you go, okay, well, I really like the orange. Maybe it's just like really, really orange light. But holy cow, that is bright.
That's super bright.
We might have the opposite problem on this one. No, that's okay. Actually, too, once it starts drying, it stops being so shiny. All right. Get those colors in there. And I'm kind of putting this on thick because it really is fairly see-through. Like, fluorescents are funky. They actually airbrush more opaque than they paintbrush, so just gotta work it a little bit, play with it a little. Maybe we'll put some in and then do a little bit of wet blending, just kind of bring in some of that more orange color. So I'm just bringing in the straight orange right on top of it. Maybe that tones it down just a little bit. I can always come back and re-highlight areas. This thing's on fire.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on fake fire. Keep that up.
We have 1 hour left.
Just keep going back and forth between my colors. So my area up here is kind of on the failure side for me. So I'm just going to take maybe some Fire Slayer Flesh or reddish brown and darken my metals up here. A little bit more. And maybe it was a bad idea to go so far up on here. So maybe we just start darkening this glow coming out. Darken that area, darken all this. And we'll get a little more light showing in the center here. Okay. That is just so stinking bright. I like it. Hey, it's hard to get bright. You can always go darker, right? So if we just keep working it a little bit here. Make these golds much darker, even darker at this edge of it. Put some shadows in here because who knows, maybe the light's just hitting it just right and it's like super shadowy in these spots. I'm going to go super shadowy over here. And I may even find that the contrast paint isn't dark enough. You can always put regular paint into your contrast paint and darken it even further. But like this. Okay. Now, let's put a little white into our fluorescence. You can do that. Actually, you got to be careful though, because it gets really white really quick. And I'm going to put some little hot spots in here. So the key to those little hot spots, the little desaturated spots, they have to be very small, because if you make them too big, you lose that brightness effect. It all flattens out again. So I'll just do like real small little dots of that color. Maybe grab from the straight white. The fluorescents actually water down the white quite a bit because they're very thin. Okay, we got that. Put this couple spots on this wood plank here. Super bright. I will have to say I way underestimated how bright this fluorescence would be on this particular door. I'm just kind of bringing some oranges back in, just sort of like painting over what I've got. So it fire goes to orange. It's more yellowish at the base. So a lot of people paint fire backwards. They put what they think is the highlight color, which is the yellow, they put it at the tips of the fire. That goes the other way. Where the heat source, where it's burning, is the lightest. As it goes up, it turns more red and then maybe black if there's a lot of soot. I would assume there's a lot of soot in this cave or whatever. So bring this up. And then we'll grab some of this reddish orange contrast. So I'm working between contrast colors and fluorescent colors. Go up here. I feel like where I put the white here could be redder. So we just cover it back up. It's really hard to be perfect. It's really easy to fix things. So I encourage you to just fix stuff. Don't worry about getting it perfectly right the first try, because sometimes things happen that are out of your control, or it's just not what you thought would happen. And you just adjust it, fix it. So this brings back, it's a little bit too peachy up here because of the way the airbrush worked, so I just cover that up. So if you had dry brush that, maybe you do the same thing. You just bring in the red, make it a little bit darker. Maybe we grab some of this much darker red, the burgundy. We can kind of work that in these areas as well. Just keep that kind of dark reddish. And that also starts making that flame. See the flame starting to show up better again? Flames doesn't show up quite as well on this side, so we'll do the red again. So other than this burgundy, the burgundy is a little bit more desaturated, but it's still a very saturated color. So we're just going, away from the yellowy tones. So the further we get from yellow, orange, red, magenta, the darker it'll appear, but we can keep that same, the same saturation. All right, so I'll put a little bit up here too. I think I'm going to add a little bit of that burgundy on the sides here and maybe a little bit of the red, because that too will darken my color and maybe make that fire poke out a little bit better. So I hope this doesn't start feeling too much like a masterclass on flames, but it kind of, this is just the way it works. So knowing some of the maybe higher end things will help you, because it's really not high end painting. It's just you're putting colors on. You just want to know how to manipulate them. So I'm liking that better. Like from this angle, that door looks wicked. Let's do This fire is just going crazy right here. So it's really, really kind of up on the edges here. Darken that. Yeah, that looks cool. Woo! All right. So see what I told you? Just this is like the prime example. Actually, I'm glad when things don't always go right. Well, I mean, it was always going to go the way it went because that's the way these colors work. But sometimes it surprises you. Sometimes it looks better. Sometimes it looks worse. But also, depending on the sculpt, sometimes you got to kind of work it a little bit to get it to where it reads correctly. So we got that. I'm gonna just to prove a point, I guess. Let's what are we gonna do? Where's that color? I'm just using different browns. Who cares what color it is? This is Agros Dunes. I just really want this part of, and I can come back in and put little spot highlights on the gold to make it look more gold again. Like right now, we've kind of erased all the shiny gold right there. There we go. Cool. Then we'll go a little bit redder even over here. So see, I'm kind of letting areas dry out. See, evaluate how much more maybe I need to do. I've probably terrified at least 3 of you into never trying OSL ever. But it's a lot of fun, actually. Like, it works out pretty good. And don't try on something super big right off the bat. Like, try on smaller stuff and see how that works. Let's put a little bit of the red out here. I think that's kind of what is lacking on these outside parts. It will allow me to have, like, a little bit more... Like, you'll be able to see the inside cracks a little bit better if the outside is more red. And since this is a very see-through color and it's going over the darker browns below, it kind of just retains that dark brown look, but it's a little bit on the red side, so it gives me that fire. The fake fire. Put some a little bit down here. And maybe on this ground out here. So I'm not necessarily trying to stay within a set of lines or anything. I'm just kind of painting around a general area. I'll go a little bit out here. A little bit right there. Do we have any questions while I'm doing this? It's looking pretty good.
Nothing yet.
Okay. All is quiet on the Western Front. For now. The good news is this will be posted on our on Miniature Monthly's YouTube page,
And
on Flying Frogs. Usually theirs takes a little bit longer for them to process everything, but ours is usually up within a couple days of the event. And so you can always come back and look at it some more. All right. Let's go right there. Maybe letting a little of that red down into the depths a little bit. Did you just say yeah in a whisper?
I did.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, because it started toning it down
Yeah.
A lot.
Did that make you happy?
Yes.
Okay. All right. We'll do a little bit on the sides here. It's always scary. You feel like, oh, I'm making parts that are supposed to be really bright too dark. But then sometimes that little bit of darkness helps the other part look even brighter. So let's put this up here some more. Yeah, because maybe these little cracks in the wood, in certain areas the light's really spilling out, but when it gets thinner, it just barely spills out, and so that light would look much more red, right? Alrighty. Then what we can do, we'll let this rest a little bit. How are we doing on time?
45 minutes.
45 minutes.
Technically 44.
That right there. Let's do some of this. A little bit whiter yellow down here at the base of this one, because that's like supposed to be really bright. We'll do some of this lighter yellow at the base of the flames here. I absolutely love painting flames. So I'll probably come in. Again, I'll probably bring this up to Gen Con with me. So if any of you are at Gen Con this year, and watch me finish it up. Because technically I haven't done any highlights or anything. This is all just speed paints and stuff. So, alright. I think that will work for now. Maybe put a little bit of our lighter color back in here in a couple spots. In the depths of despair here. All right. Good enough for government work, I think. Okay, so we'll let that kind of percolate a little bit. Or I'll just keep painting on it forever. Gosh darn it. Gosh darn it. It just, every time I look up at the screen, I see what it looks like on film. So it looks one way in real life. It looks one way on film. And you want to like halfway best of both worlds, right? So I feel like the red needs to be a little bit darker around that flame. And then the flames show up a little bit better. So especially on this side, it just doesn't get dark enough. What the heck? What the heck is going on?
I have a whole other side.
Yeah.
It looks great.
It looks amazing. All right. Woo! That looks pretty cool though. I'm not. Probably looks better than I thought it would. Gosh darn it. Just turn it around. All right. So we're back to this side. All right. Woohoo! Okay. Let's try to do the dry brush thing. And then we'll hand paint it on. Let's do that. So did I still got paint in here. So let me just spray this out because otherwise, well, my airbrush will be super dirty for tomorrow's airbrushing class, which is going to be good. Kind of trying to do that on purpose so that I have something to clean. But I don't want it to be too dirty, so. Alright, we got that. Okay, I'm going to grab my dry brush. And we'll do a little bit of yellow here. What did I do with my dry brush palette? I've got it right here. I feel like we're doing last night's class again. But quite honestly, like when you're painting, if you're going for speed, I mean, even going for like, higher end paint jobs, you can still dry brush and stuff. But if you're going for speed, you're going to be using these techniques, the airbrush, the dry brush constantly. And then when you get to more, higher end paint jobs, you want to do something for Golden Demons or something. You might do the same techniques, but you might slow them down a little bit so they work a little bit better. But we're going to do a really light dry brush here.
I linked the Drybrushes in chat, by the way.
Yeah, Artis Opus. We have an affiliate link for them.
I know. I think that's what
I think you get a discount with that link. I don't know. Maybe you don't.
You get 10% off when you subscribe to their mailing list.
We also have affiliate links to Monuments paints. And then you guys all know how to get to Flying Frog. So, but if you need a link to that, yell at us. And then we also do videos over at Miniature Monthly. So I always forget to promote myself in these things. It's not the end of the world, but I do private coachings. Yesterday's class, I ended yesterday's class and immediately did a private coaching with someone. So that was crazy. I'm glad I didn't forget. I was on a good one after yesterday's class. Mm-hmm. So we did it. We made it darker all the way around. Now we're making it lighter again. Sounds weird, but this will our little portal here will highlight up on those white highlights that we're doing. Let's get a little bit more. I'm going to try to hit the edges of this. So remember what I said, there's no shadows in light sources, but this is a portal. So maybe there are some shadows. And in that case, those darker areas will help give us a little bit more texture. I purposely sprayed from different angles so that I would get shadows on top of things, on bottoms of things, whatever. So I'll get some more white. And I think I want a little bit of my other color, this color, bright pale yellow. Anytime you have like a bright light yellow is a good time. So that will make your highlights appear a little bit brighter than just white because there's a little bit of yellow. There's some yellow in there. So grab both of those colors on my brush, mush them around so they play nicely. I'm dry brushing real light, and I've also got a slightly damp dry brush, like not wet, but just slightly damp. If you're not familiar with the Artis Opus way of dry brushing, it's pretty awesome. And they have a whole bunch of videos on their Artis Opus YouTube page. It's worth checking out. Byron's a super cool guy. You know how cool the frogs are? Byron's just as cool, but for just brushes, basically. He's a fun guy. For show. So I get most of it off on my dry brush palette, and then I'm getting like a ton of little bitty bristles. But luckily, they're all just kind of coming off too. I'm going to go around these edges of these rocks with that yellowish color just to get a little bit brighter highlight. And you can see it still gets darker towards this, so that looks pretty cool, actually. Let's just go straight. Yeah?
So Zach says, have you ever had an issue with your airbrush ink not sticking really well to your primer or base coat?
I don't thin it at all, so no. I remember a long time ago, and I can't remember if I thinned it or not, but I was spraying a really big model, like a big Forge World model, and then I put tape over it to mask an area, and when I pulled it off, it just pulled all of it off. It was crazy. So I could see that happening, but typically I don't thin my inks anymore. I just spray like I call them 10% sprays. So it's just a little bit of paint comes out, and I build it up that way. So I have not really noticed it having that problem, but it really shouldn't have that problem. But it did have that problem once. So was that confusing answer? What I'm trying to say is it happened to me once, and it's never happened again. So I think the difference, like I did it that one time, and then I was like, oh, ink suck, and I was having problems spraying them anyways, and I was thinning them down. I'm pretty sure I was thinning them down. So that might have been the problem. Like I don't thin my inks down anymore. So I haven't noticed that being a problem. I mean, you'd think I would notice because I use inks all the time on my paint jobs. So that might have been part of it. Inks are already super thin. There's no reason to thin them other than you can't control your airbrush, which I get that's a problem too. But learn how to control your airbrush better and spray like really small amounts of ink. Like you saw me spray that little bitty dot right there with a Patriot 105, which is not supposed to be able to spray that small of a dot. So, it is what it is. But okay, so the other thing you could do is maybe like once you put your inks on, they're a little bit shiny anyways. You could like do a dull coat over it to maybe try to seal it in there. I don't know. The other thing we'll do, let's make a mixture of those two colors. I'm going to thin it just a touch, not very much. Maybe we'll do these little spirals coming out of the inner circle here. We'll make stronger spirals because the dry brush ones are just kind of
Move over.
meh. So yeah, a lot of these, I'll probably spray some inks with my airbrush tomorrow. And if, for instance, you can't make it to that one, just remember we're recording everything, so maybe you'll get some good ideas from it. At least the way I airbrush. Everybody does it a little bit different, so it's not like you have to do it exactly the way I do it. But maybe you get some ideas that help you in your airbrush journey. So same with this paintbrushing. Like you might do OSL a little bit differently, or you figure out a way that works better for you, or shoot, that looks better than mine, and do it that way, But that's the whole point of these classes, is just sharing information, trying to figure out the best way to do things. So that looks kind of cool with that extra highlight that I've just done. I'm kind of following the sculpt, and I'm kind of not. Like some of these I'm making up, where I kind of see something happening and I just make a bigger thing.
So he said, thanks, it was weird, had some army painter speed paint just pull my white ink right off the model.
That is weird. Maybe they didn't play well together. What kind of ink are you using? That probably should have been my first question. So sometimes different paints will have adverse reactions to each other when they touch each other. So that might have been that part of that problem. But also maybe it wasn't cured enough, and so then the army painter paint did something funky. And sometimes just waiting overnight to... But, that's no fun. I don't wait overnight, so... It might have just been that it was a weird chemical reaction that happened there. The types of inks that I use are Liquitex 90% of the time, 99% of the time. The only color I use from FW Dalerani, which is the other big brand that people use, is Payne's Gray.
You said it was Liquitex acrylic.
Okay, yeah, I use Liquitex too. Was it the white or was it? God, I've never had it peel off. Like that was super crazy. Okay, so we got that. I did the dry brushing around here. Gosh, it'd be so much easier just to dry brush. But we're not going to do it. We're not going to do it. Okay, so I'm going to grab this color, and this was that color we used last night, I believe. No, it's not. It's Plasma Glow. This is a plasma color, like a glowy kind of color. And let's see. I'm going to grab a different dry brush. I don't know if this plasma color will work. We might have to switch to the Thunderbird. In fact, let's do the Thunderbird first. We'll do the plasma color second because the plasma color is actually very see-through. I mean, so is this Thunderbird, but maybe it'll work better. So I just kind of mush all that down, and let's start. Ooh, that looks pretty. So this is a speed.
Whoa.
This is speed paint being dry brushed on a model. It's actually better than I thought it would be. Holy cow!
That was really pretty.
It is pretty. That's. Oh, and I can use this stuff still on my palette. This is amazing. Do some of that light hits these rocks that are sticking out a little higher. Okay, let's grab some more. Who knew? You're actually supposed to dry brush with speed paints. That's false. But you can dry brush with speed paints, and I never. You definitely want to have some white underbase under it, and we may not ever achieve like a super vibrant color, but you know what? I think this could be cool. This could be like a really weird portal. It's like actually like kind of. Now I mixed water in with that. Gosh darn it! What is going on here? I'm on the struggle bus. 110%. We're just gonna put that right on the palette like I'm supposed to. Holy cow, that is a wet dry brush. All right, let's see if we can do this. So if you get your dry brush wet, if you actually dry brush it on a piece of wood or something, you can kind of clean out most of that water. See? And let's load it back up. And let's continue our trip around the sun here. That looks so trippy.
I love it.
You like it?
I do.
All right, so get some of that over here, there, everywhere. Let's go even weirder. Or not. What color could we do? Purple? Let's do it. Purple and teal. Great combo. Love it. Love it or leave it. Alright, let's just put that right here. See if we can do some weird stuff here. This is an experiment. I don't even know what's going to happen. So,
but sometimes that's what you need to do.
Mm-hmm.
You just need to experiment.
So what I'm trying to do is get a little bit of purple in some other areas. So like just a tint of purple. This is probably something perfect for an airbrush, but I'm trying not to use my airbrush on this backside. So So see how we've got that teal coming, and then we've got the purple kind of spiraling in. So use the second brush to kind of feather the edges. Ooh. Oh la la. Oh mama. That's what they say. I don't either, but they say it all the time. I'm like, quit saying that. And they're like, no. The funny thing is I can use movie magic after this and clean it up with the airbrush. So I'm telling you, airbrush is your best friend. The airbrush will not win you any awards. So if you think like, oh, the airbrush is just for getting incredibly smooth blends and stuff, you're not gonna. It just speeds things up like this, so you have more time to do more detail work with your brush, and that's where the airbrush really helps you out. But if you don't know how to use your airbrush, it could take longer because you're constantly messing things up. So I get it. It's definitely one of those things where it'll drive you crazy, but that's also why I'm teaching an airbrush class tomorrow. So if you guys got questions, ask them. So I never ever thought of doing this. I never thought of running colors through the colors, but I'm digging it. What do you guys think? That's freaking weird. It's just,
I love it.
It's weird and wonderful.
It reminds me of ice cream.
So, yeah, that. Let's put all of this on here. This is where I just start forgetting the colors I just used and start doing whatever. Trying to get that teal over all these highlights that I did. Kind of, sort of. And then maybe right in the center here, all those colors kind of spill in. I really want to make that outside edge darker too, but I kind of got to wait for the... How are we doing on time?
You have 20 minutes.
Okay. Got to wait for some of that to dry. So maybe... Ooh, that looks kind of cool.
I like it.
It's funny, some of the stuff I do, and then it dries and you can't see it anymore. It's like, oh man. But that's okay. Alright, let's go. We'll do some of this really purpley mix right up in here. So some of these, like that one I made look like it was a deeper cut, but it's actually really shallow on the sculpt. But just, it's an optical illusion almost. Alright. I'm going to stay true to my word. No airbrush. It's not going to happen. Till later. We'll go up right here. Right there. This is super psychedelic. I'm like, this is, I want to paint some more of the Void Hounds. Have them come through this portal. This would definitely be, yeah, anything from the void. This is definitely a void portal right here.
Zach said the parts he left as shadow are almost acting like a guide for the purple.
Yeah. Yeah, that is actually a little bit of a thing there. But I'm trying not to cover up completely so that it's like very, very both colors. So a lot of painting is just happy accidents that you go with. And so don't be afraid to royally screw up. Something like that. We will get a little bit darker as we get up to here. So some of these spirals will start, they'll increase in density. I'm just making stuff up right now. The energy has increased by 14%. And that is the truth. We'll go like that. Just re-hitting some spots. So you can see how much quicker this huge portal has come together than the other side did. Because the other side, there's much more things, that I had to worry about. And probably much more things I'll have to fix once I get back to this piece. The cool thing is both sides are looking awesome. Well, that does look pretty awesome. I don't know. Maybe I'm being too hard on myself. Maybe I'm not.
You always are.
So let's go a little bit more purple in here. Take my wipe off brush. That's looking pretty good. I will say this was not the side that I thought I'd be like, holy cow, that's awesome. And it is the side. I mean, like the portal itself is super cool. Don't get me wrong. And the way it's all set up, it's set up to paint very quickly. So, at the end of the day, it just works. It just works, let me tell you. Grab some more of this color. Maybe we'll work it in. Wipe some of it off. So it's like I want the intensity of this color to kind of come and go. So you don't want to have it everywhere. That's why it was good I didn't really start with just putting it on everything. I kind of I don't know what I was doing, but just going crazy. All right. Let's take this color. And we will, right in the middle of this portal, starts going bananas. Starts going all Gwen Stefani on us. So it's like death spiral of doom. Let's get rid of that. Got too many things on my desk, yo. Kind of crease these down here. Oops. It's called the wipe off fix. So it's bringing that really light color right through the really much darker color. It just shows up really nicely. So I hope if you don't have this one, you've run out and bought it already while we're doing this, because this is actually a really cool piece of terrain. I think all their terrain's really cool. And I enjoy it more the more of it I paint. And maybe we'll go a little bit wider. I don't know. Put a really bright. Super white dot right there. It's like a combination of all those colors. The yellow, the white, the teal. We'll do little dots coming out from here, so it's like particle matter. You know, that's what the universe actually looks like. It's just all this particle matter. Like that. Boop, boop, boop. That looks pretty cool. I don't know. What do you think?
I think it was great.
Here's our dry brushing adventure. Took like 5 minutes, and then this one took an hour and a half. But that's okay. That's the way it goes. I feel like I keep putting those lighter colors, and I just need to put more of the darker color. And I feel like Liz thinks that's right too.
Yeah.
I think it's the right call. It's like flaming fires of doom inside. Everybody screaming, ah. Okay, so the other thing, and I'll just show you a little section, because how much time do we have left? Like, not much?
13 minutes.
13 minutes, all right. So the last little thing that you need to do to kind of sell these highlights is might be better just to grab regular paint for this, but where there's like things next to your light, you want to put little OSL highlights. So maybe we put a couple little orange ones. Sometimes they show up, sometimes they don't. These are the things, especially on metal, the light reflects off of it really good, and especially on corners. So we'll just put some of this light, like really hitting there hard. Let's do this color, this red up here on this rock. So the underside of this rock's going to get hit pretty hard by that light. And of course, let's see here. Probably be better to use opaque colors for this, but we'll just use a little bit of white into that red. Maybe use like a warm red, Blood Angels type red, and then a little bit of white in it, and you can get some of these highlights here on the rocks. And it's a subtle thing, but it definitely helps sell the fact that there's fire over here burning. It's hitting areas around it, reflecting off edges of rocks and so forth. So go over here. My paint's just not showing up. I can't believe it. Funny thing is, this would probably actually be perfect if I was going for display painting, because it's building up very slowly but not really leaving marks behind. But I like painting a little faster. Got that. orange over here. Mix that with some white. You know what? Look at this. Burning ore from war paints. That'll probably work.
John said, I appreciate you showing such different techniques on the two sides.
Yeah, I mean, because like sometimes even in the same painting, you do things differently on both sides. I'll tell you that back would have gone even faster with the airbrush though. Like it's lightning quick. So we got that. Little bitty highlights here. Of course, that burning ore was not the brightest orange, so I'll mix in a little bit of that. A little bit over here. Oh, there's light coming out of here, so maybe it hits on the edge up here. Man, I'm having the worst luck with bright colors on them.
John said that he's looking forward to the airbrush class.
Good. Like I said, if for some reason you miss it, it will be on the interwebs.
Also, do you need me to go look for a bright color in the kitchen?
Yeah, I need a red.
Okay.
Like pyro red.
Mm-hmm. I'll try to find that.
It's in there. Do a little bit of yellow into there. A touch of white. Trying to keep a very saturated color. There we go.
This one?
Sure. We've just used 14 different brands of paint, which is pretty much how I paint. So this is the new stuff from Acryl. It's the expert Artis acrylics. Actually, pretty awesome. I like them. All right, let's try to put red over here. So this is like that light bouncing off of the rock. A little bit brighter. Maybe some of this would be hitting over here and over there. Can actually mix this into the darker color and make a darker color. And so like the sides of this container just be like super red hot. And again, that kind of surrounds the yellows and oranges and just gives them like almost dark lines your fire. Something like that. This thing, maybe the side of this piece of metal would just be like red. And then maybe there's like a little bit of red on these things. This is starting to be like, these are some semantics. Like you don't have to do that, but it looks cool. Maybe a little bit of this red would actually travel all the way up and hit off the bottom sides of this gold. Not very much because it's further away, but metal's way more reflective than these rocks. So sometimes I'll sell the OSL by putting some of these underlightings on things that are farther away. Then we'll do a little bit over here, and there, and boop, boop, boop. So obviously there's a lot of room to put little highlights and glow effects. I could sit here for the next 4 hours or 40 hours and do that, but I think that kind of gives you an idea of where we're at. Let me just do typical, keep going. Let's put a little bit. So maybe this door, it's already bending out. Maybe it's like lightning hot. It's so hot. I do little dots and stuff just to kind of accentuate the edge. And like what I did on the Magma Giant is I'd come back in and in spots I'd hit it with just pure yellow. There's like a little dot of yellow in a couple spots. Again, if you do it too much, it's too much, right? Too much is too much. Can't have too much of a good thing. So this yellow is the brightest color that I have. So if it just goes into a few spots right here, maybe it looks like, maybe it could even be sparks, whatever. Like if you look at the Magma Giant that I did, there are sparks on his legs, like flying up into the air. So just fun stuff. All right. So I think that looks pretty good. Do some right down here. These ones are a little further away. Some of these little reflections are just randomly from the things that are burning. So, anyways, super cool, super fun.
I have one question.
Okay.
Wicca said, how do you do glowing cracks? Tried to do the kanji on the Otokoro, but the natural shadow killed the glow inside, and it also made it look different under different angles.
So that one's gonna always be hard. There's no way to really do it other than use the brightest colors you can find. So find the most saturated yellows, or like if it was green, find the most saturated green, but like this, like these would be my go-to fire colors if I'm painting without fluorescence. I would almost say try it in fluorescence and don't put any shadow into it at all. You need, and no shadows and no super light, almost white areas. You want to have like really, really vibrant colors. Like if you look at my palette over here, like this color is super, super vibrant. Even compared to the brightest orange that I have, it's brighter than that. So like if I put it right next to it, you can see the difference. It's a completely different color. So anytime something's in shadow, you're going to need to use more vibrant colors, more saturated colors. That's pretty cool. This is the prettiest thing I've ever painted, I think.
I love it. It said the skull is also whitish, so you can't make it too dark.
Yeah, that's the other problem. So I can't remember. I don't know how I painted that skull. I know it was fun. I think I didn't paint it as glowing things. I think I painted it just as like red. So that might also be an option. The only way around that is like if it was a 3D print model, you could print it in clear and have a hollowed out area and shove a light up in there, and then it shines and at least it shows up. But otherwise, when you photograph it, you're going to have to angle lights upwards into the areas that are supposed to be lit up. So you're going to have to do some funky monkey stuff there. It came out really cool. I like it. For minimum amount of painting, not too shabby. Well, cool. Well, any other questions on OSL? As always, these sessions are hot and heavy, and we don't have tons of time, so it is what it is. But I think we get a lot done. So hopefully you got some good ideas for your OSL stuff, and I'm expecting to see you guys posting some cool stuff on the Flying Frog Facebook page, the fan page. And as always, if you need extra instruction or something, you can always come over to Miniature Monthly. It's the miniaturemonthly.com is our website, but we also have a Patreon. So the Miniature Monthly Patreon, and I do private coachings on both sites. On the miniaturemonthly.com, you can sign up for a private coaching there, like just to do one at a time, or if you want to do several months, it's probably easier to do it on the Patreon. But yeah, I'm always happy to help. Otherwise, feel free to ask questions. I try to get back to everybody, but I'm also very busy, so sometimes it takes a minute. But yeah, so cool. So we got any other questions? We all good to go, Liz?
We are good to go. Thank
all
you for being here.
Thank you so much for being here, and we will be back tomorrow morning. It's a morning show for us, which will hopefully be a little bit better for our European friends. I'm trying to mix things up a little bit this year, but I'm also super happy you guys came out to visit us, and we're actually talkative, which is nice. People were talkative last night too, so it was really good. Cool. All right. Well, I will see you guys later. If you haven't gone out and picked this up, get it. It's a cool model. And it comes with like a full a scenario for you to play. So definitely pretty neat. All right. Talk to y'all later.
Bye.
Bye.